I was anxious to post my last video live, but at the same time, I'm not surprised that the feedback that I got has been universally kind and positive because rationally, I know that for all people talk about the toxicity of the internet, my little corner of it has always been incredibly kind, incredibly supportive, incredibly friendly. So I think that it's kind of a testament to the caliber of people that you guys are that um, everything has gone really well so far. So for those of you who left nice comments, thank you so much. I'm kind of trying to make these videos at a bit of a breakneck speed. It's a little ambitious for me to try to do one a week, and I recognize that. And I might slow down eventually, but there is an advantage in me doing what I'm doing the way I'm doing it, which is that I'm not giving myself time to second guess myself. I don't have an opportunity to obsess over getting everything right. And that's what we're going to talk about in today's video. As you can see, my room is messy right now. I did not clean my room before this video. Usually I do, and I vacuum things up and I make sure nothing unsightly is in view. I am working on fighting my perfectionism, which is a large part of, I think, what many of these videos are going to touch on. Knowing that perfectionism is kind of one of my biggest problems, and also being somebody who is prone to self reflection, I've been consciously looking at what I'm most afraid of, and where my fear of fear of perfection. I don't know. Somebody make a portmanteau of that, please. Um, but I've been looking at opportunities to test my comfort level with imperfection, first in safe ways and then in less safe ways. And streaming has been very helpful for that. So, story time. I think we're going to probably wind up having story time a lot. I'm a storyteller by nature, by career, so you're stuck with stories. I am a musician, and I have been a musician since I was a very young child. I am, in some ways, very comfortable with music. But I grew up as a classical musician. And when you're a classical musician, you are given the music on a page, on a piece of paper, all the notes, all the markings. You learn to interpret that, but you still have this starting point that's really clearly spelled out for you. And I only knew that way of approaching music. And improvisation always seemed like this kind of magical thing that jazz musicians could do. And it's something that I have struggled with my whole life. And it's taken a few different forms over the years. Another tangent, and we're going to tie all of these together. In addition to music, when I was in college, I started taking belly dancing classes, which was really powerful for me in a lot of ways because I had a lot of discomfort with my own body. Taking lessons helped me work on becoming more fluid and being more comfortable both with accepting the fact that I had a body and learning to loosen it up some. But I was still doing the steps that my teacher was telling me. Eventually, I reached a slightly more advanced level, and we had a workshop on improvisation. Perfectionism means that I am so terrified of doing it wrong and making a mistake that I just freeze up. So I had this 2 hour long session of improvisation. I literally locked myself in the bathroom for 2 hours and cried. And people kept coming up to the door knocking and being like, are you okay, Lauren? And I was like, I'm not feeling well, which wasn't untrue. But I think the kind of distress they thought I was in was not the kind of distress that I was in. I was deathly afraid of improvisation of any sort. Music, which I've been doing my whole life in a structured manner, where you might think that I would have confidence in how to play my instrument, I freeze up the same way that I did trying to dance. So it's not that I didn't know dance and that's what scared me. It's that improvisation, making things up, taking those chances is utterly terrifying. The big problem is that I don't feel like I know how to improvise. And it seems like everybody else does. and there's something inherent in them that I just don't have. And they're going to look at me and see I don't know what I'm doing. Part of it is that I feel like when I reach into my soul to pull something out, there's nothing there because I don't know what that something should be. I think it's not that I don't have ideas for musical improvisation. I don't think it's that I don't have ideas for how to move my body to music. I think it's that I've never had training to reach inside and pull that out. And naturally, because I am so afraid of making mistakes, and improvisation is all about taking chances and risking mistakes and making mistakes, that it runs counter to everything I am comfortable doing in my life. You can put me on a stage in front of 1,000 people and tell me to sing or play flute, something that I've rehearsed and that I know, and I'm fine. But ask me to improvise. Ask me to come up with music from my heart and soul and pour it out in front of 4 people, my bandmates, who I have worked with in some cases for 6 years and know intimately, who are so familiar with my shortcomings and my strengths. Ask me to play a few unscripted notes in front of them and no other audience, and I just withdraw, left to my own devices. And it's weird because they do these kind of jam space things sometimes as we're practicing, and everybody picks up and does this weird, interesting, cool, fluid thing. And I just kind of sit there and don't know what to do. Last week at band practice, for the first time in my life, when they did something like that, I kind of sang along, even though these are people I'm really comfortable with, and even though this is an environment that's really safe. I've never been able to do that before, which is an interesting problem because I think people think that people who are afraid of this sort of thing are afraid of performance in front of crowds. I love performing in front of crowds. I have a problem where I love it too much. But it's not that. That's not what I'm scared of. And I think it's a good sign that I was able to do that one phrase in that one environment. So how did I get there? Whew, a lot of work and focus and trying and diving on in, even when everything inside of me says, don't, stop. One of the small things that I've done has been making music on stream where I'm not following sheet music. I don't think people think anything of it if they're watching me stream because I sing along with things, I talk along with things, I make a lot of noise. But when I was playing Final Fantasy X on stream and I would sing along with that battle theme and do weird things with it sometimes, for me, that was a small baby step in front of other people. Because maybe you guys aren't like present here in my room or in my living room, wherever I'm streaming. But still, I know that there are other human beings with eyeballs and ears who are observing the thing that I'm doing. And I am forcing myself to, in a kind of offhanded, don't draw attention to it sort of way, take this chance and do a little bit of musical improvisation. And honestly, that's helped. Sure, it's not a big deal. Sure, it's not like going out on stage and being like, yeah, I'm going to make up a song with some cool jazz people. But it still counts as confronting this, and it still counts as working to overcome it. At a match several years ago, I ran into some people who later became friends of mine. I did not realize at the time, but they were going to be members of the band Disco Cactus, which is largely a classically trained group of people who do crazy, jazzy, improvisational stuff. They're phenomenal. So they're standing around improvising and inviting me to join them in this hallway jam session, and I'm just like, what do I do? But they had a flute player with them, and I think he saw the look of terror on my face, and he was like, all right, I'll help you. You know this song. It was some Mario song, maybe from Mario Galaxy, I don't know. And he said, you know the rhythm. Well, don't worry about chords, don't worry about solos, just play the root note of the chord, of the rhythm of the melody, and just do that while everybody else is bouncing solos. Just have the experience of playing, of participating, and just feel for yourself that you can do it. And that actually helped because he told me what to do so I could kind of stick my toe in and see that I could be in a jazzy improvisational setting and not die, and nobody turned to look at me and told me that I didn't belong there, and I didn't spontaneously combust, which, as it turns out, was an experience that I needed. Flash forward a couple of years from when I first realized I wanted to work on this, and I was honored to be asked to play flute with Kobayashi-san, the composer of Panzer Dragoon Saga, at MagFest when she was guest of honor. She wanted a string quartet and a flute player. It's kind of an intimidating environment and situation to be in, and I was freaking out and anxious as you could possibly imagine. But the worst part of it was that there was a little solo, and it wasn't written for me. I had to make it up. I was expected to improvise. And I was already, scared out of my mind. So it turns out that one of the percussionists from Disco Cactus, the same group that had a few years earlier helped me stick my toe into the idea of improvisation, was part of the group of people performing this song on stage where I was expected to do some sort of improvisation. So I went to him and I was like, Doug, please help me. Doug is an incredible musician who is phenomenal at improvisation. So good. And he had a classical background to start with, but I think he decided he wanted to branch out, and so he did. I'm centering on the people that I know that have taught me these things, that have been important to me, because I think it is important to realize that you don't have to solve your problems yourself. If you need help with something, feel free to ask people. Ask the people you're close to. If there's someone who's really good at the thing that you want to be better at, ask them for advice. Knowing people in my life who improvised with music, not dance, so a language that I spoke pretty well, helped me get a sense for what improvisation was like. And the most important thing that I took away from all of it was watching these phenomenally talented people who had intimidated me like you wouldn't believe, with their skill and their experience and their talent and their confidence and the beautiful music that they seemed to make up on the spot. Watching them improvise through a song that I knew, and hearing them play some notes that didn't work. And then they'd keep going, just like nothing had happened. And nobody listening was like, stop, hold up, you played a wrong note. Like, that didn't happen. They just went right on playing, and then they played some more notes that didn't work, and that was fine, and then they went right on playing. And I was like, wait, but they're good at this thing, and they did something that didn't work. And maybe it seems really obvious that even people who are good at something are going to make mistakes. And when you're improvising, the thing you just played, that's the first time anyone's ever played it like that. Sometimes you're going to get it wrong. No matter how gifted you are, and no matter how practiced and skilled you are, you're still going to play wrong notes sometimes. It's still going to sound bad sometimes. For some reason, that didn't occur to me. Or maybe if I knew it rationally, in my heart of hearts, I didn't feel it. I didn't believe it until I heard it a bunch from people that I really respect, and realized if it's okay for them to make mistakes, is it okay for me to make mistakes? Is it all right for me to try and fail? Because something really important is that you can try something and you can fail at it. Just plain fail at it. But that doesn't make you a failure. That means the thing that was done didn't work right. But you, as a person. You are not a failure just because something you did one time didn't work out. Or even a whole bunch of somethings that you did over a period of time didn't work out. You're still not a failure. When the day came and we performed in front of the audience, boy, did my heart go crazy at that part. I don't even remember what I played. I know that I put the sassy note Doug told me not to play in there, but I knew that it was the sassy note and I was doing it anyway. Kind of to prove to myself, I think, that I could do everything wrong in front of the whole audience, streamed on the internet, and it was going to be okay. And it was okay. It was fine. Nobody cared, nobody minded, nobody noticed. So I survived that. If you take a chance and accept that you're going to make mistakes, it's like that freezing up terror that caused me to lock myself in the bathroom for 2 hours and cry begins to loosen up. That fear begins to go away. I bet while I was locked in that bathroom crying, there were people out there dancing and doing the wrong move, doing something that didn't make sense or wasn't with the rhythm, and it was fine. Maybe the instructor corrected them, maybe nobody noticed, but that didn't mean they couldn't dance, and it didn't mean that anybody was judging them. It didn't mean they needed to judge themselves. This is about diving right on in, knowing you're going to make mistakes, and accepting that that's okay. It's all right that I didn't clean my room. It's all right that I'm making this up on the spot and I'm going to have to go in and edit it and I guess keep the parts that I think make sense. In my experience, most of the people who are experts who you think are going to judge you are actually going to be some of the most supportive people out there because they know what it's like to be new. Once upon a time they were. They know what it's like to fail at something because in order to get good at something you have to fail a whole lot. So if somebody's very good, you can assume they've failed tons to get where they are. It's okay to be the way you are. It's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to try something new or try something scary and understand that if you're new to it, it's not going to go as well as the people who have been doing it for years, and that's okay. And it's important to realize that even the people who have been doing it for years and years and years are still going to make mistakes. They're still going to do it wrong. And that's okay too. It's all right to take those chances. I'm going to do badly sometimes. I'm going to do the wrong thing. I'm going to sing the wrong note. I'm going to make a video at some point where things aren't going to work out. That's okay. I think for a lot of people, this most commonly takes the form of anxiety heading into a room full of people where you don't know them because you don't know what to say. And conversation can be kind of like improvisation. Even the most confident conversationalist makes mistakes sometimes. So if that's the thing that you're nervous about, it's okay. You're going to make mistakes and it's okay. Try really hard as much as you can to accept that you're going to make those mistakes. Sometimes you're going to slip up a little bit. Try to remind yourself that that happens to everybody, that nobody is perfect. It is better to take that chance and get that experience and find out that the world didn't end when you tried it, and take the baby steps you need to take. Ask for the help and support you need to teach yourself that it's all right, that you can do this, even if it's not something that comes naturally to you. Making mistakes and finding out that the world doesn't end when you do them is incredibly powerful. And it's not a magical cure, but it helps.